Jason Todd is a really interesting character to me. Despite how he's blatantly disrespected Batman's no killing rule a bunch of times, and he's caused a lot of pain and disruption in the Bat family's lives, there's still a lot of people out there that love the character. So much so that he's been featured in critically acclaimed video games, animation films, and graphic novels. This got me thinking, why do we love the rebel character known as Jason Todd so much? In this video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons as to why we love this character so much despite how he goes against Batman's values. But before we move on, please be sure to like and subscribe to Reaver Comics. You don't want to miss out on our awesome content. Now before I get into why we love this rebel character so much, I'm going to give you a rundown on Jason Todd in case you are not familiar with the character. Now, funny enough, Jason Todd had the exact same origin story as Dick Grayson in the early 1980s. Jason Todd was originally created at DC Comics because Dick Grayson moved on to leading the Teen Titans in the 1980s. Now, this caused a lot of problems in the Batman comics because Batman did not have anyone to talk to. So to remedy the situation, Dick Grayson graduated from Robin to Nightwing in the Teen Titans series, and Jason Todd became the new Robin. Now, fans did not like how Jason Todd was basically a cut and paste version of Dick Grayson. Hence, when the Crisis on Infinite Earths series took place in 1998, the editors and writers at DC Comics took this opportunity to fix a lot of the continuity and storytelling issues that they were having. This gave them the opportunity to revamp Jason Todd's origin. Now set in a new continuity, Batman first came across Jason Todd as a street orphan who tried to jack the tires off of the Batmobile. Now, in this new version of his origin story, his mother was a drug addict who supposedly died of an overdose, and his dad was hired as muscle in Two-Face's gang, and he disappeared under mysterious circumstances. It's here where Bruce decides to mentor Jason Todd so that he could redirect his rage towards something productive. Bruce trains him, and eventually Jason Todd becomes the new Robin. Now, a lot of the time, Jason was portrayed as this rebel who went against Batman's orders. At one point, it was implied that Jason killed a criminal. When Batman arrived at the scene of the crime, he saw the criminal fall out of a building. Now, Jason maintained that the criminal slipped and fell off of a balcony after Jason interrogated him. Now, fast forward a couple years into the future. In 1988, the comic legend at DC Comics known as Dennis O'Neil suggested that the readers should have the opportunity to influence the creative process in the Batman series. The creative team at DC Comics settled on the idea of opening up a telephone poll so that fans could decide the fate of Jason Todd. Everyone at DC Comics pretty much thought this was a good idea because Jason was not as popular as Dick Grayson, and at the same time, he wasn't just a minor character. At the end of Batman issue 427, Jason's fate was up to the fans. Inside the issue listed 2 telephone numbers that fans could use to vote whether Jason should live or die. Within a day and a half, the verdict came in. Fans voted to have the character die. What's incredible is how close the verdict was. 5,343 votes came in for Jason's death, and 5,271 votes came in for his survival. This was a 72-vote margin. In the Death in the Family story arc, Jason Todd was captured by the Joker, beaten brutally by him, and was left to die in an explosion. Later in the comics, Jason Todd comes back from the dead after Superboy Prime punches reality in a paradise dimension. I know, it sounds pretty wonky to me too. Eventually, Ra's al Ghul finds Jason Todd and puts him in the Lazarus Pit to restore him to full health. Now, as a consequence of being exposed to the substances in the Lazarus Pit, Jason Todd now has a lot of mental instability. Afterwards, he assumes the Red Hood mantle, becomes an anti-hero in Gotham, and vows to take revenge on Batman. Now that we know who Jason Todd is, let's dive into why people love this character so much. Now, the main reason as to why we love this character so much is because the Red Hood largely represents Batman's failures and shortcomings. Now, despite how Bruce Wayne is a ridiculously talented human being who can take down villains and forces as powerful as the Justice League, he still makes mistakes. His biggest mistake was failing Jason Todd. Now, you can make the argument that if he would have left Jason Todd as a street orphan on the streets, bad things would have happened to Jason Todd anyway. However, Batman is too brooding of a character to give up on the opportunity to blame himself over Jason Todd's death. Despite how Batman trained Jason Todd and tried to teach him right from wrong, it still wasn't enough. Batman could not save Jason from the Joker and himself. Despite how Batman is this larger-than-life symbol, this part in his career is very significant because it shows us his humanity. It shows us that no matter how hard he tries, he can still fail. In a way, Jason Todd is a physical manifestation of Bruce's guilt. This is part of the reason why Jason comes off as such a powerful character. After what happened to Jason, there will always be this little voice in the back of Bruce's mind that tells him he's not fully capable of protecting his loved ones and Gotham. After what happened to Jason, I'm sure that he always wrestles with at least a little bit of that doubt. Jason also goes out of his way to show you how faulty Bruce's moral compass actually is. Batman, of course, uses deception, force, and intimidation to keep order in Gotham. Jason goes out of his way to show Bruce why it's necessary to take that extra step and kill criminals. Batman has been operating in Gotham for years, and the likes of the Joker, Two-Face, and the Black Mask are still committing atrocities. Jason is that character that asks the question, if you're going to operate with a faulty moral compass, why not just take that extra step and kill criminals? Now, whether he's right or wrong is completely up to the opinion of the reader. But like or hate Jason Todd, we can see where he's coming from. We can definitely see why he wants to take revenge on Batman by exposing his hypocrisies. When Jason came back from the dead, he quickly figured out that his death was not avenged, he was replaced with another Robin, and Gotham's criminals are still operating at large. And to make things worse, he will probably live with PTSD for the rest of his life. Now, if I was him, I'd be pretty mad at Batman too. And I'd also argue that Jason Todd highlights Batman's bad character traits. Not only is Jason mad at Batman for not avenging his death, he also shares a very toxic trait with the Dark Knight. Both Bruce and Jason fail to let go of the past. Now, I talked about this in my last Nightwing video. The link's in the description if you want to check it out. To make a long story short, Dick Grayson lets go of the past. Dick Grayson let go of the trauma of losing his parents to the criminal known as Tony Zuko. However, Bruce never got past his trauma like Dick Grayson. Bruce is stuck in the past and uses his trauma as a justification to do crappy things like keeping secrets from his friends and family. Now, if you think about it, Jason is pretty similar to Batman. Now, I don't blame Jason for his attitude. The guy was a street orphan, he escaped a family filled with violence and addiction, and he was beaten to death by the Joker. Jason went through severe trauma. But here's the thing that's really toxic about Jason. He uses his trauma as a justification to do bad things. He uses his trauma as a justification to kill criminals and cause hurt and pain to Batman and the rest of the Bat family. Jason Todd is one of the best rebel characters I've ever seen because he highlights Batman's shortcomings as a hero, exposes the hypocrisies of his faulty moral compass, and he takes after Bruce's worst personality traits. He pretty much exposes everything that's bad about Batman, all while being a unique three-dimensional character in his own right. What's interesting and terrifying about Jason is that despite how he's pretty hardcore, sometimes he's right. Bruce has a habit of putting people in danger. If that wasn't the case, Batgirl would not have gotten paralyzed from the waist down by the Joker. What Jason represents is terrible and awful, but at least a bit of it is true. Why not put an end to somebody like the Joker? Now, there's a ton of other reasons as to why we love Jason Todd. If you think about it, he fits really nicely into the Bat family. Out of all the Robins, he's the rebel anti-hero of the group. Dick Grayson is the athletic and acrobatic older brother. Tim Drake is the most relatable yet has the best detective skills. And Damian Wayne is the redemptive assassin of the group. Each of these characters complement each other very nicely as they all bring something unique and cool to the team. And people really resonate with Jason Todd. Now, for me personally, I really resonate with Nightwing. Like Nightwing, I'm the older brother in the family, and I like how he just lets go of things. To be honest, it's a really nice and healthy way to live. but I do realize that a lot of people resonate with Jason Todd. There are people out there who went through severe stuff like Jason and have grown up in families with addiction, chaos, and dysfunction. DC Comics has always done a fantastic job when it comes to representation and letting people know that they're not alone with their struggles. But what do you think? Do you think Jason Todd is the best Rebel character out there? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe to Reverb Comics. You do not want to miss out on our awesome content. Stay groovy.